Welcome into another edition of the Dynasty Dugout Show. We're back with you. We just dropped some new prospect rankings. We're here to talk about those. It's going to be a great show. The DSL is about to kick off, and with me, as always, is Reese White. Reese, how you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. You just finished up your rankings, and what we're going to be talking about today.
Yeah.
We got regional play today as we're recording this, so
Yes.
I'm super excited. Going to throw on some ESPN Squeeze play after this, and just sit in front of my TV and finish up some of my rankings and stuff that I'm working on the website. So it's a good time. And then there's going to be, I think there's some good pitching matchups today too on the MILB side as well. So I'll be just taking notes and stuff.
Yeah. We got Milwaukee up 4-0 on Auburn in the first inning, so that's fun.
Yeah.
We'll see if that holds, but yeah, the regionals always bring about a lot of wild stuff. So GT dominating, no shock. I think they're the best team in the country, but maybe it's the East Coast bias in me. I don't know. It'll be fun to see how this all plays out. But one thing I know about college baseball is you never know what's going to happen in the regionals or the supers. But yeah, Reese is going to have his top DSL prospects out here shortly. So check those out. DSL starts Monday, if I'm not mistaken. So really looking forward to now having 6 levels of baseball to cover. Just all the work, but a lot of fun. And we took a lot of questions in the Discord today that are kind of about the prospect rankings. And so we'll hit on some of those and talk about them. Some were not as questiony, but it's fine. I'll be glad to just highlight a few things and mention some things. But let's dive in. And the first one was from our buddy Silver Snail. He asked about Ethan Frey. He says Ethan Frey demands answers. And Sam lives in the Nashville area, so I understand. Frey hasn't been great. I've seen him a couple times this year. I mean, it's coming together, but at the same time, like we've seen an issue of the contact rates collapsing and the ground ball rates are really causing an issue. And I get it. There's been points in his career where the launch angles have been inconsistent, but again, 41% ground ball rate last year was playable. I'll take that all day, but this year up to 51. Strikeout rate has kind of ballooned up to 29%, and the contact rates have dipped substantially. Approach still looks good, but 71% contact rate from a SEC bat and high just doesn't do a lot for me. But any thoughts on Frey, Reese?
No, and then you throw in the fact that he is kind of passive at the plate too.
Yeah.
It's just it's not a combination that I'm super like jazzed about. Like, you can look at the 13% walk rate and the 28% strikeout rate, but when you factor in the fact that he swings 40, like less than 40% of the time, that those sort of numbers sort of do take a little bit of a dip in my mind. So yeah, I mean, I expect more from a 22-year-old in high A who was playing in the SEC. So yeah, I'm just not, and other prospects have kind of overtaken him. So Ethan Frey, I don't think there's anything like quote wrong. I think you can still see the upside there,
Yeah.
but there's you're actually seeing the downside right now. So it just kind of
Sure.
depends on if he can get the launch angles into a good spot.
Yeah, and I didn't tank him substantially. I've kept him, let's see, 210. So not a terrible spot. I mean, he dropped 75 spots. I had him pretty high. Coming into the season, didn't move him really after the first month. It's like it's a 1-month sample. And so we'll see. I still believe in the talent and believe that he can really rise back up. We also had a question that says this is a super weak top 100, it seems. How does it compare to previous years? And I would tend to agree. I think that this is a product of a couple things. One, the org limits now. So we dropped from 180 players stateside to 165. So we're seeing prospects move a little quicker. And also that then lends itself to pretty bad quality at the low levels because they need some more development, like in short season ball. They're not getting that. So there's those challenges. And also, like, we've seen a lot of graduates. Teams are being more aggressive. They're sending up 19, 20-year-olds and they graduate. So I tend to agree. I felt terrible about the top 10 outside of Made and DeVry. Like, I had no clue what to do with the top 10, honestly. And I feel like there's some big tiers now, bigger tiers than there has been. But yeah, I mean, just looking at it, like typically, like a lot of these guys aren't top 100 guys. So yeah, it's interesting for sure. A lot of guys that were highly ranked coming into the season also have kind of struggled a bit. I think like Bryce Rayner, like that type of player. But at the same time, new talent emerges, and we'll kind of see where it goes. But do you have any thoughts on the weakness of the top 100 now?
Yeah, I just think that all the factors that you mentioned, and it's, I just don't, I, I don't know. It's just been weaker, and I've noticed that like the drop off actually happens pretty quickly because like in like a strong year, you make it about 75 prospects, and you're like, these are all good prospects. At this point, I don't even the drop off sort of happens like 50, like after about 50 it's just kind of like in your rankings, like are you super jazzed about Emil Morales? Like he's good, don't get me wrong. Dax Kilby's I'm just bouncing around, but it is weaker, and there's a lot of factors for that. I think that also, players are going to college more, so that means that they can kind of, because of the NIL and everything like that. The NIL, I feel like my dad and my grandpa talking about NIL right there, saying the NIL, but it's a factor too. Guys are going to college more. It's just there's a lot of factors here, and we also have a weak crop of players, and we can only rank who's put in front of us.
Absolutely. So it's certainly just an interesting crop. We'll see what the DSL guys do if they can kind of see some jumps. But yeah, it'll be fun to follow for sure. So next question is what prospects on the updated list in the ACL? I threw some complex guys in the back of the top 500. He lists Jervin Murillo, Ricardo Romero, Corey Cousin, or Jay McQueen have a chance to rise the most by the end of the season. And the honest answer is I have no clue because it's a tiny sample of complex and these are pop-up guys. I don't have a great answer. I think McQueen has interesting tools. We'll see if it sticks. I'm not overly convinced. Like I put them in there because, typically the back end of my rankings, I just kind of want to throw some upside guys and see. So I guess if I say one, it's McQueen. But I mean, it's just throwing a dart, honestly.
I'm with you 100% on the McQueen shout. I would actually like to see him in single A, because then we can actually see him. I like Murillo a little bit too, but it's, these are all dart throws. They're playing in, against not great competition. And, we don't actually have like good video. Like we're relying on YouTube streams if we really want to watch them. And even then it's like certain teams. So, yeah, I mean, I think these are all nice dart throws, but I wouldn't be like going crazy for any of them.
Yeah. This one kind of follows up. Would love to hear what you do or how you evaluate complex standouts. It mentions like there's some box score standouts. I mean, the box scores don't mean anything like with complex ball. If you've ever watched or been to a complex game, you understand why. The competition's really, really, really bad. There was an interesting article. I forgot who wrote that. It was on Yahoo. Was it one of the Cespedes barbecue guys? I can't remember this week about complex ball. And yeah, I mean, if you just go read that, I think everybody should be required to go sit at a complex game at some point in their life in the 100-degree heat. It's bad baseball, guys. I think you have to look. You can't even look at the box score because the average walk rate of a pitcher at the complex is like 16%. The command is terrible for most guys. And so anybody with a pulse that has any sort of plate discipline and can make contact can really mash there. So yeah, I mean, I honestly just try to throw out all box score stuff. Like I don't honestly like all these guys listed. I have no clue like what their surface stats look like. Try to watch video. I'm trying to evaluate like I do any prospect. Like what do they project to be? They're younger, so you can kind of project them out body wise. Like what do they project to be? Like what kind of runner are they? What kind of present EVs are there? A contact, chase, etc. And at least you can get a decent feel. It doesn't give you a great idea because the pitching is horrific. But yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to like watch them and get some data on them where I can and go from there. But it's hard. It's harder than ever. The complex is worse quality baseball than ever, in my opinion. But what are you looking for in these complex guys?
I'm looking for video, like the DSL standouts or DSL preview, whatever. I was actually able to find some Francisco Renteria swings, and I think in 4 plate appearances, I saw one competitive pitch, like one pitch in the strike zone. So that kind of tells you at that level, which is the DSL, what to expect. And in the DSL ones on YouTube, you can see like the velocity and the pitch movement, and it's all like 86-mile-per-hour fastball. So like, there's nothing that we can sort of gauge except for, hey, he doesn't swing when the ball's in the other's batter's box, which is a win. So I'm not looking at the stats or anything like that until like they get to single A or or a bit longer of a sample size. But I want to try and find some video whether that's on Twitter or YouTube, and because I'm not going to go on to like a player's like Instagram page and like see what they posted because I just don't want to do that. But I know some people do. So yeah, that's sort of my process with these complex guys. And I haven't really looked into any of these guys' stats or anything. I assume they're all doing well because people talk about them.
Yeah, for sure. So it's kind of what we're looking at. There's a couple of questions about Arjun Namala. I did push him pretty aggressively in this update. The data is just popping with Namala. I mean, he's seen a massive increase in exit velocity data, which he's had power. I mean, there's not, I don't think there's been much questioning power in the past, but like now we're suddenly looking at like, EVs that are like 4 miles an hour higher than previous years. So that's kind of notable. I do want to see more of those turn into barrels and home runs. The launch angles have been fine. He's 43% ground ball rate. Need to pull the ball a little more. But Namala, again, he's 20. He'll be 20 all year. Somebody that played cricket. Like, it was going to take him time to adjust, and he needed more time to really adjust early on in his career, I thought. And he's hit home runs, but also now we're seeing the approach play a little better, which that's a major encouragement to me, where we're seeing the approach. Like, I think that he's showing improved chase rates. He's walking, all the things that we kind of want to see in the contact, substantially improved so far this year, especially his jump to AA, which I like to see. So yeah, I'm a big fan of what Namala's doing, and I think that he could really pop eventually. He's really smooth in the field as well. Every time I've seen him in person, just standout glove at shortstop. So yeah, I mean, it's really just the underlying data that's really pushing him upwards for me. So yeah, I mean, any thoughts on Arjun Namala from you?
No, this is the first I've heard about the exit velocity jumps, but I've watched him quite a bit this season
Yeah.
because I've always liked Mala because he's a fun watch in the field. He's a good defensive shortstop, and he has power. So when he's starting to put that power into game, on a more regular basis, that's exciting and encouraging. And so yeah, I mean the rise makes sense. We talked about it. This is a weaker prospect, so if you really like someone and you bump them up, it might look a little bit more drastic because there's less in that overall quality. But I think a top 20 prospect is definitely like what Namala kind of is at this point. Like it's, if he can, I mean, Franklin Arias is doing the same thing, like hitting for power and, playing shortstop. So what's really the difference here? Namala's 20 years old in AA, and, he hasn't had his first home run yet, but he's hitting 308, 375. The slugging's not there, but it's also, he's 20 years old in AA, and it's, the weather's starting to get a little bit warmer in AA because he plays in a colder league. So maybe everything sort of takes a step forward for him, and when the weather starts heating up a little bit. So yeah, I'm in on Namala. I think that I actually really liked your ranking when I woke up this morning and saw it.
Yeah, it's a fun one to shoot up. So yeah, I'm certainly excited about what we have seen with him for sure. So that answers a couple questions about the Namala one that we got. This one's fun and something I've addressed before, but are you concerned about Josh Hammond's swing? Interesting tools, but visually, I have a hard time seeing it play. It is odd. Like, I don't have a great way to describe it. It's not fluid at all. You can make a lot of different swings work. Josh Hammond's been really good from a lot of standpoints this year. He's obviously in single A. He's a 19-year-old prospect, but yeah, I mean, it can get pretty flat. It gets pretty long at times. I wrote like a couple paragraphs in the Discord about it. I had to find it, but yeah, Hammond is interesting one to watch because I think that he has traits that you like to see. I just visually don't like it, but if it works, it works. Could it affect him moving up? I don't know. I mean, like, it hasn't really affected him at this point. Can better pitchers certainly pitch him to where he's going to hit it on the ground a little more? Probably. He's sub 44% ground ball rate, 43.7. So it'll be interesting to follow. So, I mean, visually, I don't like it either, but right now it's working. So I don't know if you've watched a lot of Hammond, but there's any thoughts there?
I have, because I actually really like tuning into that affiliate, especially if you get a Kendry Churio start day.
Oh, yeah,
but his swing, it gets wonky, I guess is the best way to put it. Like you said, I've seen him and it gets long. So I wonder if, more advanced pitchers, and that probably won't happen until AA. So he might just keep it going. And then there's nothing wrong with the player having to fix their swing, right? Like it's you have to readjust and everything. And some of the best hitters in the world have to readjust their swing and get, fix it at the major league level. So but yeah, I just don't know how it plays against higher level competition, and we will only know that when he gets up there.
It is very true. So yeah, I mean, it's hard to judge, like, unless you have like really, really good data that tells you like what's their contact rates and chase rates on like specific pitch types or like quadrants of the zone, like stuff that, yeah, I'm never going to get. But that would
Yeah.
be helpful to judge other than just like the eye test of watching. And we'll see. I mean, right now Hammond is hitting, and that's what we want to see. So next question is there, or is the possibility that Alfredo Duno moves off catcher significantly factored into your ranking of him? Or is the bat just that good? Or would there be some drop off if the Reds commit to him at first base going forward? I mean, I think you have to think about that. Like, it matters. I think the hope, we discussed Duno pretty extensively last week on last week's episode. So if you want to go check that out, that would be good to see and listen to. I mean, right now they've pretty much shown that they want to commit to him being a catcher. Is he going to be a stud catcher? I don't know. Is he serviceable? Sure. I mean, I think he'll be fine. Like, he's big bodied. So, like, I think you look at guys, and I know he's listed 6'2". I bet he's 6'5", like just standing near him. And can that work? I don't know. It could, but we don't often see catchers that large. But at the end of the day, they haven't shown any propensity to move him to first base. He's caught and he's DH. And he's caught like at really high rates this year, which I like to see. I mean, we're talking about 45 of his 50 games played so far this year. He's caught and he's DH the other 5. That shows me that they're willing to put him through the grind to see if he can develop as a catcher. But even if he moves to first base, I mean, I don't know. Like, there's other first base prospects that people shove pretty highly. I mean, Ralphie Velasquez, for instance, like, it's been pushed pretty aggressively. Other first base prospects that can mash. I mean, Duno can mash. So yeah, I don't think the ranking would be that much affected if they moved him to first. But I haven't seen a sign that they're going to do that. But would you view him differently as a prospect if he was a first baseman?
I mean, he'd probably, I haven't really done my re-rank yet, like of where the pro prospects would go. But I mean, using your list, he'd probably go from like 8 to like 12. Like, if he moves off catch, like the catching part of it, if he can, we always dream in the fantasy realm, like a catcher who just catches enough to maintain eligibility, because we don't want them dealing with all the bumps and bruises and everything that comes with catching and weird stuff that happens with catchers, right? Because their focus is not on their offensive game, even though with ABS and everything. So yeah, he wouldn't drop that much, and honestly, he'd be the best first base prospect in baseball. Like, it's that sort of power, that sort of hit tool. I would much rather have him than Rafi Velasquez, comparing to first base prospects, if Duno does move.
Yeah, I'm kind of in that same boat, obviously, but yeah, I don't think that I would drop him off hardly any at all. I really do love the profile with Duno. I'll let you answer this one about Max Clark. I did answer it in the Discord because he wanted a quicker answer on, but it was about Max Clark. What's the move on him? I did move him down the rankings. I think he's another one we talked about substantially last week. What do you do about him? Do you hold him or do you move him for some young options that are already in the MLB?
I think you kind of have to hold on to him at this point. I don't, it's not like he is taking a Bryce Rayner like esque fall, right? There's still a big league viable player here. The problem is that there's too many ground balls, and he's not someone who can live in the 45% ground ball rate. When he was in Double-A, hitting 35% home run or fly ball, sorry, if he was hitting 35% home runs, we'd be talking about the best prospect in baseball. But he is someone who, he needs to get the ball off the ground. He doesn't have crazy power. He does have speed. I wish he ran a little bit more. Like, that's my one complaint about him, is that, for someone who might be a double plus runner, he doesn't run as much on the base paths, and everything else sort of looks good under the hood. Like, it's a 10% walk rate. He doesn't strike out a lot. There's still a big leaguer here. But if the ground ball rate isn't going to be taking that step forward, then yeah, I think you gotta hold at this point and hope that the Tigers get him, lifting and pulling more batted balls like he was showing at Double-A.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, still young, still talented. I think you hold him unless you can get a really solid like MLB piece. I'm not just trading him for a prospect. I don't do that with any prospect. So I can just quick hit on Robbie Snelling. Pretty aggressive drop. Maybe it was too aggressive, 100-spot drop. I don't know. I mean, how many pitchers have we seen come back from TJ now and just not look the same? Like, who knows? And it may be, I understand that he had the brace. The brace hasn't done well for a lot of people, which is kind of interesting. They come back quicker, but the results have been highly inconsistent. When we come and look at the brace procedure, Am I concerned that he won't return the same? Sure. I mean, we don't know. I mean, look at Andrew Painter. Just don't know how they return. So maybe I thought about when this question was asked, I thought about like other prospects, and maybe I should have like dropped Sakura more when he was hurt last year. But at the end of the day, like, I just don't know. Like he's out for the year. When do we see him back to like his full level or full ability again? 2 years from now. So it's hard to justify keeping Snelling pretty high, even though maybe it was a pretty harsh drop on him. But I don't know if you want to comment on the TJ thing, Reese, but that's kind of where I am on it.
I mean, with TJ and everything, we just don't know how guys are going to come back. Like, what if the fastball shape just never comes back? It's not like Snelling was trending towards being like a super like he was going to be a good fantasy pitcher, but not like a super impactful like guy that you set it and forget it. So yeah, I think that the drop is more than appropriate, and I think I think that people think that Tommy John guys come back a lot better, and we're actually starting to see a little bit of test cases. Andrew Painter is the biggest one. He's not the same as he was before, so we always need to kind of factor that in with these sort of guys.
Absolutely. So that answers that. Nathan Fluelling, is there upside for him to crack the top 10 in a couple years? I mean, I wouldn't say it's crazy. Again, when we look at like the trajectory of like prospects and how aggressive they've been with him, he's met the assignment. Guys graduate quick. As you mentioned, the list is weaker. I mean, Duno reached the top 10. I'm not going to say it's impossible for Fluelling to reach the top 10. I do want to see him at a higher level and see where the contact falls. It's kind of the biggest thing. We've seen the approach kind of take a little step back this year. Contact is fine, but really interested to see kind of how he looks. And again, he's going to be 19 all years. I don't know if they push him to double this year. It's kind of interesting that they now have him and Bodine together in high A. We talked about they weren't going to shove Fluelling to double yet, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot that could happen. So I'm not going to say never. Obviously, I'd like for the guys in the top 10 to be like, have some power and speed. I know you could argue against it for like a Duno type, but I think Duno does have more power for sure. So it's not impossible. I'll say that. But what do you see the upside as being, Reese?
He probably maxes out as like a top 25 prospect. Catching prospects are just not something that a lot of people want to rank all that highly. You have to have a special tool like Duno does. So, I mean, it's definitely possible. I mean, if the minor leagues keep getting weaker and weaker, there's a shot. But yeah, I don't know if I ever see him being someone that I would rank as a top 10 to 15 prospect. But I mean, there's definitely he has a chance to be a really good major leaguer. So, 25-ish range.
Yeah. And sadly, as you mentioned, the minor league getting weaker, like we're facing some kind of unprecedented times moving forward in minor league ball. I mean, like what happens with the new CBA? Do we see a whole level cut? Like, is the draft cut down further? It's going to be interesting. I'm certainly going to try to be positive, but it's tough to be positive sometimes with how they treat minor leagues, but another discussion for another day. This one, what prospect or prospects outside the top 100 could reach the top 20 by season's end? It's a tough one. Just scrolling through. I mean, I don't want to say any of the DSL guys. Reese wrote about a couple of these. Renteria, Wandy Asahine. I don't know. I mean, that's kind of like aggressive to say they dominate the DSL and go that high. I mean, if you're throwing some darts like Indy Azakar, Dorian Soto, Red Sox guys, they're a lot of fun, have some big tools, but I wouldn't say that's likely. The dark horse, maybe Yeremy Cabrera with the Nationals. I don't know. I mean, he's somebody that's put together some impressive tools, taken some leaps in some places this year that I wasn't sure he was going to take, as a lot of Nationals guys are. His high A has not been as good as what we saw in single A. So that is something to watch with Cabrera. But I mean, that's just a name that, yeah, at quick glance, I was like, oh, it's a pretty fun name. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, is it kind of crazy to say, like, to look at it and be like, a lot of these guys I just don't feel have that kind of upside, but maybe those guys are listed. So I'd say your best shouts are like some of the DSL guys really popping, or somebody like I mentioned with Jeremy Cabrera, who has the tools. He's just put together at higher levels. But I don't know if you scrolled through and saw anybody that caught your eye there that could
Yeah,
jump.
you're kind of playing around with tools gambles like
Yeah.
Johan De Los Santos probably because he's a fantastic runner and maybe there's some power there. Blaine Bullard is someone that I like a little bit
Yeah.
more. So like I think that he could maybe be there. I don't think he's a top 100 prospect by any means, but there's the baseline of tools, and yeah, you're basically getting into like the DSL and complex guys, Yorger Bautista if he starts hitting more. Again, I haven't looked into the stats, but I know that I haven't really seen anybody like post anything, and the Mariners are pretty good about hyping up the prospects when they start performing. So it's just those sort of guys. Maybe a Roldy Brito if you're looking at like towards the top, like he's got the speed. Maybe if there's a power jump, Elian Pena if he's your sort of like if you like Elian Pena. But yeah, outside of that, I don't really there's a reason you rank them here at this point in the
Yeah.
rankings, right? Because if you really really like them, you'd shoot them up the rankings. So but things change at a moment's notice in the minor leagues.
Yeah, a lot could change between now and August. I mean, we'll see. What's driving Cooper Fleming's rise? Is there any concern about his small sample platoon splits? I talked about Fleming pretty extensively when I spent a week in Charleston. I thought he was one of the best. He was the best player on the field, and in my opinion, like looked much better than like Tatum Gray, who I do like, and Xavier Nyans was on the other side. Kevin Alvarez. They had some guys, and Charleston has a lot of guys too. Fleming's just an all-around really good player, really smooth at short. He's got the frame you'd like to see. He's put up some good EVs. He's got a good approach, makes contact. So he's kind of just a well-rounded package of tools. Maybe he doesn't have like any like huge standout tools, but he does a lot of things really well. As far as against lefties, yeah, I mean, I think that you look at it and you say, okay, the splits look pretty bad. He has a 322 OPS against lefties. But again, we're looking at 26 plate appearances. He's only struck out 6 times against them. So it's just such a small sample. Like I'm not losing my mind over a 23% strikeout rate from a 19-year-old lefty against left-handed pitchers. And really, I think there's just some small sample noise there. I'd be curious to see his BABIP against left-handed pitchers only. But yeah, I mean, he's putting the ball in play, and that's what you can ask for from a young player like this who's in his first pro season and performing. I mean, statistically not performing against lefties, but he's putting the bat on the ball. So I don't really have any concerns about that yet in 26 plate appearances, because in 10 plate appearances, that could look completely different. So that's kind of my thoughts there. If you have any thoughts on Fleming or that concern.
I'm not worried about a platoon split for 26 plate appearances. Like not to sound like dismissive of the thing, but it's just like you said, like if he faces a series where he has goes against a couple lefties and maybe hits like a bad lefty reliever, because there's a ton of them. He can all of a sudden make that look really good in a 36 plate appearance sample. So yeah, I'm not too worried about the platoons issues. Now if they start to arise, like I know Walker Jenkins is always someone who gets talked about as having some platoon issues. So if they continue to like happen when we have a bigger sample size against them, then I'll be a little bit concerned. But right now I'm not really concerned about it at all.
Me either. Quick hits, favorite upside plays in the 300 to 500 range. Just real quickly, Braylon Antunes, who I was really crazy about last year before the DSL, and he now looks the part in the complex. So I'm hoping he'll be in single A. And if I can get no longer Carolina, I think they're Wilson Warbirds to come around me, I'll definitely go see him. And Hector Azorio, somebody that I saw earlier this year, I really liked with the Rangers, doing some really good things. So either of those guys. I don't know if you scroll through and saw any names that pop in that range for you, but that's cool.
Yeah, right. I like Ryan Weidman. I like the tools. Yeah. It's maybe a 4th outfielder, but I like it. I like Patrick Forbes quite a bit. I liked him in the draft. I think that he's got stuff to play as a big leaguer, as a starter. And yeah, there's no other real pitchers that really stand out in this range, because I think if they had a little bit more like stuff going on, they'd be a little bit higher on your rankings. But yeah, those are 2 guys that I definitely like in this 300 to 500 range.
Yeah, Forbes is an interesting one. Really liked the potential out of the draft. Had the flexor injury. He's thrown 2 complex innings, so hopefully we'll see him back in full season ball soon. But yeah, that's a good shout too. Wyatt Sanford, what have you seen from him? It's intriguing tools, but will it play at higher levels? This is a totally different player than I saw last year. I was on the backfields for Pittsburgh a lot in spring training last year, and Sanford like just made a lot of contact. Like he just not a lot of power, but just a lot of gap kind of power. And then the approach was really good too. Hit 5 home runs last year between the complex and single A, which was just 273 plate appearances. Obviously, Greensboro is a little bit of a factor here. Greensboro is probably one of the best parks to hit in the minors. That's where he's playing right now in high A. But Sanford is somebody I liked in the draft. Joe Doyle really turned me on to Wyatt Sanford. He was really big on him out of the draft, and somebody that I kind of was following. Like, and when I saw that, I was like, okay, I need to really look into Sanford more. Liked what I saw, 2nd-round pick. So it's not like he's like an unknown, but he's really sold out for power this year. And it's come at the detriment of some contact. His contact rates have dipped pretty substantially. He's got a little more aggressive. I'm not opposed to a little more aggression because he's one where in the past he's shown the ability to run really good zone swing rates with lower chase rates, which you want to see. Swinging more this year, striking out more, making less contact. But at the same time, I mean, there has been some legitimate power gains with Wyatt Sanford. And I think eventually you're going to see him kind of piece them together and kind of have the best of both worlds there. And for what it's worth, over the last 3 weeks, he's got a 22% strikeout rate, which is encouraging. Over the last month, 26%. So, yeah, I think we're seeing it trend in the right direction, which is good. He has not struck out in either any of his last 3 games. I know that's a small sample, but little positive steps for sure. So, I don't know if you have any thoughts or like Sanford at all.
Yeah, like the total reworking of the profile has been really interesting. He's swinging more, swinging and missing much more, and you're making less contact. But the quality of contact has definitely gone up. Like the pull rates jumped up quite a bit. Not that he was a guy that wasn't pulling the ball a lot. There's still the ground balls like quite a bit, and but there is a decent amount of fly balls that he offsets that with. So yeah, I just think the reworking of the profile has been one of the more fascinating things in minor league baseball because he went from, like you said, he's like a contact guy with a little bit of power and there was some speed. So all of a sudden now it's like he's a power over hit guy with some speed, but he's striking out 32% of the time. We kind of need him to get in the middle. I mean, if he can walk 12% of the time, that's awesome. But if he can get the strikeout rate down, like, on a more consistent basis, like 22 to 25%, I think that with that sort of power and with that sort of speed, there's an interesting fantasy prospect here.
Absolutely. This is a quick hitter. Why is Christian Arguelles not in your top 500? I thought he was, honestly. Like, when you comb through the amount of names to do a top 500, you miss guys. And
there's going to be guys that fall off.
Yeah, I thought he was. I like Arguelles. Hope I'm saying that name right. He's an interesting player, really good contact. He was a DSL repeater last year, but really popped. He's got a 1144 OPS at the complex, makes a ton of contact, really good approach. Power hasn't popped yet, but yeah, he's somebody that should be in. I thought he was in. So just simple as that. It was just a oversight, and I will fix that. But next question, Ethan Salas. What's going on with him? I mean,
oh my goodness.
He has no pressure surrounding him because he's not being pushed to Double-A in his first season, and he's developed. This is an interesting case. He's 20 years old, or he's 19 still. Golly. He will turn 20 on Monday, but 19-year-old. It seems like he's been around forever. Fatigue was high. I was always lower on him than most because we're talking about fantasy over real life. Really good real life catcher. But when you send a 17-year-old to Double-A, yeah, I mean, you're going to probably hurt his development. And that was the case. Everything's changed this year. The hit tool's improved. The approach has always been really good with Ethan Salas. But one thing I will say, I really like that we've seen some more aggression from him. And with the more aggression, he's jumping earlier in counts, and he's getting really good pitches to hit. That was my critique when I saw him in the AFL. I saw him a good bit out in the AFL 2 years ago. I guess it was 2 years ago at this point. God, sending an 18-year-old on the TSL. But he just was too passive. Like, he wasn't hitting pitches that he should drive. And we're seeing that. The power's jumped. I mean, how high is too high on Salas? I don't know, but he's an elite defensive catcher. So he's going to stick there. And the bat really looks legit to me now. So he's one to change the tune on completely. So that's my opinion of what's happening with Ethan Salas. But what say you there?
Yeah, I like, the fact that he's getting out in front of more batted balls has always been a nice thing. I saw him when he was a 17-year-old in single A, and I was like, man, I don't know how this guy doesn't become like a star level player at some point. And then, he was kind of stuck in the prospect wilderness for quite a while. Had some injuries and everything as well. And he's starting to put it together. He's also sneakily got like a little bit more speed for a catcher than you want. He's actually a pretty good athlete behind the dish. So like there's some stolen base upside here too. I don't know what's too high on him. I'm not gonna be a top 100 prospect. We do have such a long sample size of him not making the same quality of contact. So I will be interested to see how he does. Well, I mean, I guess he goes up to the triple A level next, and triple A he's just going to be like launching batted balls like crazy. And then at that point, you're like one step away from San Diego. So, I mean, honestly, we talk about it all the time, like rankers, like we always talk about prospects we want to graduate. I really want Ethan Salas to graduate. It's nothing against him. And I just, fantasy catcher who can hit 15 to 20 home runs and maybe steal 10 bases. There's some value in that. That's probably a top 10 catcher at the end of the day, in a season long format.
Yep. This was a question. Can you make a list of top 5 to 10 hit tools? I didn't have time to do that, but I mean, if we just want to look at some guys off the top of my head that have really good hit tools that are prospects. I mean, we talked Max Clark. I mean, it's really good contact. It's got to improve the quality. Franklin Arias has a great hit tool. Eli Willits. I don't know. Those guys really come to mind for me off the top of my head. I don't know if you have any others that you would say are really strong hit tool types.
Luis Hernandez, but he's
at
that young of an age. I think Joswar also has a good hit tool. I think that kind of gets undersold with him a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think top 5. I mean, Devin Fitzgerald. He's got a good hit tool. People are calling him McGonagall light. So yeah, those are guys that definitely stick out to me. I'm trying to think if there's any under the radar hit tool guys, but we want to keep this moving. So if I think of anybody, I'll circle back to this.
Have you seen Kason Cunningham this year?
Kason Cunningham is exactly who I was thinking of. I was like, there's a shortstop prospect who I haven't seen, but I hear the dude can hit. Now, what's the power going to be? That's the ultimate question. But Kason Cunningham can really, really hit.
Yeah, he's one that I feel like the hit tool is pretty good. The approach is pretty good. 1 home run so far this year, but he's putting the ball in play and making things happen. So Cunningham will be fun to go check out and see. Luis Arana did not make your top 500. Contact outrageously good, assuming EVs are bad. Yeah, I mean, everybody was going absurdly hype about this guy last year. Marlins prospect. He's in the DSL, hit 5 home runs in the DSL. That's great. I don't know. I mean, yeah, he's hitting 400 in the complex, but he has a 60% ground ball rate. The hit tool is good, and he makes a ton of contact. But at the end of the day, hit tool is somewhat negated by just really poor launch angles and no power. So it's kind of where I am on Luis Arana. I think that the surface stat line lookers are always going to push this guy aggressively. But I mean,
it doesn't strike out.
Yeah, but you got to have some power. I'm not really seeing it. I get he's young. He's 18. But at the end of the day, I mean, you're running a .058 ISO in the complex. I don't know. I'm just not really interested, honestly.
Yeah, and you're hitting the ball on the ground, and you're hitting the ball to the other field. You're an old school player and everything like that, but the fantasy upside, I just don't see it. Unless things really change, and he's got a long ways to go. But he's also on the smaller side, 5'10", 150. That's if that's correct. So yeah, I'm not super in on the profile, especially when you start looking at the batted ball data a little bit. It's cool that he strikes out 7% of the time and he walks 14% of the time. That's really cool. But when you don't have anything else, is that sort of approach isn't going to hold.
Yeah, I tend to agree. So maybe he could be in the 500. There's such a big tier back there. I mean, you could throw 500 names in the last 100 spots.
I'm surprised my name wasn't in the 500 at that point, right?
Yeah. That's right. What's the development with Josh Owens? So this is interesting, and this is what I've heard. I heard that they were going to give him a shot to two-way because that was why he was going to sign with them. That was kind of in the stipulation to be drafted and sign rather than go to school. So originally I heard it was going to just be a thing where he was going to be a two-way to kind of appease him. And so he'd sign the deal. This is an interesting case actually with Owens, who kind of got a little late start to the year, injury, whatnot. But he's hitting and pitching. He's hitting kind of inconsistently. Like he played inconsistently coming back. Now it looks like he's slowly getting into routine. He's been much better the last 3 days. It's such a small sample of hitting if you want to look at that and say like, oh, he's not been a good hitter. But I mean, he's got 10 games as a hitter, so whatever you want to call it. But hits in the last 3 games, homer, double, stolen base. Hit tool will be something to watch. I didn't see a lot of hit tool concerns when I saw him last year in person when he did play in single A. They played a series in Columbia, luckily, and I got to see him down the stretch. The pitching's interesting. I mean, he's always had a big arm. I think that they want him to be a hitter, but we'll see. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But that's just what I was told as far as he's doing both because it was the stipulation for him to be drafted and him signed. So that's my knowledge on it. We'll see. I mean, he's young 19-year-old who has just such little pro ball experience, but I'd bet on him being a hitter, and I wouldn't really care about his surface stats right now. So Yulver De Paula, why did he not get added to your list? I mean, it's just another case of like, there's 100 complex guys I could have thrown in that have decent stat lines. I don't know. I mean, I just don't really see anything there. Like, I haven't gotten anything from him that's like overly exciting, but again, I haven't seen him play. I have very little data on him. And so it's just kind of the unknown. Like, will he sustain these uber high BABIPs? I don't know. I'm curious if you've heard anything about this guy from any contacts you got.
So when I go to these games, I'll normally ask, hey, have you been to Arizona? What have you seen? Not been, I get like a million names. And sometimes I think they're just trying to mess with me and will give me a name that's not performing at all. And then but I think sometimes these scouts do it to see like who leaks stuff and whatnot. I haven't heard a single thing like about Yulver De Paula outside of like talking to someone who does like he does the Angels for BA, and he's probably like a big leaguer in some capacity, but what's the upside? Probably not super high. I want to know more about Josué Lugo and stuff like that. Like, that's the guy I want to know more about than anything. So if I'm going to ask someone who's has Angel coverage, he's going to be the guy who comes up. So, and Yulver De Paula never sort of like comes up in the back end of those conversations, because normally it's like, hey, I want to know about this guy, and then like they'll give you like the 5 or 6 guys that they really like as well. So it just never really comes up.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't look like he's going to produce much power. He's a smaller guy. I mean, I just think you need to see a little more. If I'm behind on him, I'm behind on him. Hopefully he'll get to single A and Reese can see him and we can get a better feel. But again, I just think there's so many complex guys that are like, oh, they're slashing like 3, 4, 5, like just so many of those guys. And so I don't know, just not enough information on him. Hadn't seen him. What I have seen, I'm like, okay, I don't know. That's just kind of my opinion, but I think you've probably seen this next guy, Alex McCoy. So I'll let you speak to him. Another one wasn't in my top 500. He's 24 years old in high A. He was in single A last year. He was an undrafted free agent in 2024. I'm always rooting for those guys. I think it's big power, pretty questionable hit tool, in my opinion. I know the K rate doesn't necessarily say that, but the approach is pretty bad too. But I'll let you speak to it because I think you've probably seen McCoy last year in single A.
I have. And I remember my notes where this dude just comes up there and he just wants to swing. That's all he wants to do. Like, he's got like very little like want to sort of have an approach, get on base, whatever. And if I had 70 raw power, I'd want to go up there and swing too. There's not much in the way of defensive versatility. There's probably not going to be much in the way of speed going forward. I don't really look at stolen base totals at single A anymore. You've been to single A games just like I have. I'm convinced that the hitter that gets on base and he decides I'm just going to go. And then there's no, base running savvy. Catchers don't throw to second base. I don't really try to hold runners as much anymore. That's more of an upper minor sort of thing. So yeah, he's just old, and I don't like the approach. But there's power. He maybe has a stint at some point, but I don't think he's ever gonna be anything super fantasy viable.
Yeah, I kind of like Felix Reyes. That's the kind of vibe I get on him. Who did debut with the Phillies, and He's had some pop at times, but I mean, it's just, I don't know. It's a interesting profile, and I appreciate you getting that since you have seen him. I can't say I've seen him play in person. So, Seaver King is one that's really, we need to hit these quickly, get out of here. Seaver King, is it legit with what he's done? Has he really found a stride? And is there enough juice to be a fantasy relevant player? The question to that, is there enough juice? There absolutely is enough juice in Seaver King's profile. He's somebody that in college was the uber athlete that had pop, and he was going to stick up the middle one way or another. And the chase was the question. Like, he's very prone to chase. That's still the case. I mean, it's a 40% chase rate so far. I mean, it's high. Contact has regressed a little bit in AAA, but it's a premium athlete. He's going to play up the middle. He's got juice. And I'm buying some of the gains that we've seen from Seaver King. And I do think he's a big leaguer, and I think he's a big leaguer in the next probably 2 months at this rate. So in AAA now, he's young 23-year-old, but we've seen the pedigree from Seaver King. I think the power's probably like 55 grade. He's a plus or better runner. It is interesting that he's been caught 6 times on 12 stolen base attempts after being 30 of 34 last year. So not sure what's really going on there, but that is something to watch. Regardless, the speed's there. I do like Seaver King a decent bit, and we'll see. The launch angle is also improved. That's one of the other notables this year. He had a 53% ground ball rate last year, 41.5% this year. So some major improvements, really improved zone contact. The chase rate's still kind of ugly, but I think the rest of the profile can work. So somebody asked me if he was a top 50 prospect. No, or I would put him there, but I think he's like close to top 100 guy for fantasy. So I don't think he reaches top 50, like, personally, just due to the chase concerns. But I don't know if you have any thoughts on Seaver.
I mean, honestly, whatever the Nationals are doing with their hitting prospects these days is, I mean, they might fix Elijah Green at this point. So yeah, Seaver King, a top 100 prospect, sure. Play shortstop, steal a couple bases, hit some home runs, play all the time. More interesting in a deep league because, like, I think he doesn't have the craziest upside or anything. And also, like, it'll maybe buy CJ Abrams some multi-position eligibility when he does get called up, because Seaver King is the much better defensive shortstop. So yeah, I'm buying in on the profile. I'm buying in on the changes. I would love to see the chase rate go down, but baby steps at this point. Like, he's showing he's showing at least a viable major league approach after a couple of years of, like, oh man, this is like a bad top 10 pick.
Yeah, it looked like a whiff for a little bit. I will say, he was a different player in the AFL last year. I'd seen him single A, high A, college, and in the AFL last year, he did look a lot different. So there were some notable changes, like mechanically too. So when the mechanical change backs to production change, I'm in, and the data kind of proves that. Nate George, he took a little tumble in your rankings. I didn't think it was that substantial. Let's see, where did I drop? I dropped Nate George to 199 from 156. So I didn't think it was a huge drop. They said the numbers are identical to what he did in high A last year. You're not wrong, but he's got a 738 OPS, 51% ground ball rate. Contact rates dropped pretty notably from last year. I mean, I think Nate George is fine, and I pushed back on the hype on George last year because I saw Nate George in the backfields in the spring. I was like, this guy should be on lists. Like, he's got some talent, really good athlete. But then everybody like shoved him to be like a top. The Twitter prospect guy shoved him to be a top 25 prospect, like uber quick. And I was like, whoa, hold on. Like, this is not the case. I think Nate George is fine. I don't think he's going to be like a stellar player. I think the hit tool's below average. I think he's got good speed, and I'm not sure where the power lands. So at the end of the day, again, it's like there's just a lack of power. The EVs aren't great. It's a .073 ISO. The OBP is higher than the slug. Like, those are just not things you want to see in a really good prospect. And so I didn't think the drop was that bad, but I don't know if you want to speak to Nate George.
I mean, I don't think dropping him from 150 to 190, especially with all the rises that we've had, is honestly that, he's in the same tier, right? Like, probably in like the 150 to like 250 is sort of the same tier. So you're just playing around, moving deck chairs around a little bit. So yeah, I mean, it's not crazy power like you mentioned. It's it's a good runner and everything, but like, I don't like like you said, I don't like the profiles where, I mean, you have to be like an elite runner like Chandler Simpson, who like you blink and he's on first base, and then you blink and he's on second base and third base. For that sort of profile to be anything like fantasy viable or even interesting. So yeah, the Nate George tumble makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. And I didn't think I like killed him. Like I didn't drop him 200 spots. So I
Yeah.
didn't think it was like totally unfair to him. But we kind of talked about this one. It says Made and DeVries feel like a weak 1-2. I don't think
I don't
that's the
agree.
case. I mean, I think those are two potential superstars. So is the top 10 week? Yeah. And I think after those spots, yeah, it's weak, but I don't think those are two like not good top two prospects. I think they could both be superstars. So I think you just mentioned you feel the same. So
yeah, I don't think that they just weren't Kevin McGonigal and Connor Griffin.
Yeah, and that's okay.
Yeah,
they're
right?
they're young guys, and they're good. They're great players. So yeah, easy answer there. Eric Hartman, his ascension, is it legit? What's the ceiling? Yes, it's legit. It's backed by legitimate exit velocity data. I mean, like plus or better power exit velocity wise. He's a 70 runner, and the hit tool looks to be probably close to average now, like 75% overall, 84% end zone contact. Chase rate's like 24%. Like those things are going to play. So, yeah, I mean, it's certainly legit. Could he be a 20 home run, 30 stolen base bat at peak? Yeah, I mean, I'd probably say at the ceiling of him. So, any thoughts?
I'm with you, and I like your ranking of him. I know Chris Blessing went on a podcast recently and was like, if he's not a top 30 prospect, whatever, like your list isn't like worth looking at, basically, is what he implied. And I'm 100% there with him. Like Eric Hartman's awesome. Like it's, like we got a chance to see what the damage he does, and it's pretty bonkers. And then you throw in the fact that he's a premium athlete, like, could he end the season being? I don't think Leo and Made sort of graduate, but can he be a top 5 prospect? I mean, anybody can be a top 5 prospect with the way the prospects are going these days.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm all in on the Hartman ascension.
Absolutely. This was kind of a long question, but the TLDR, does it seem like proximity is increasingly important? Yes, I agree. And you mentioned a lot of good cases of like pitching prospects that have been ranked highly and fallen off. So, I mean, the short answer, as we're like running out of time, is yes, I think that does matter. And I think that like Seth Hernandez should be a good sell high. Like I'm always a proponent of selling every prospect for MLB people that are already established. And that's even more the case with pitching prospects. Like, I mean, I was fortunate to have intel on Ricky Tiedemann before anybody knew, and he was still pitching well. And like I told you all to sell him for MLB piece then. Like there's like Seth Hernandez is healthy, but like you still sell him because I mean, at the end of the day, like these are pitching prospects, and pitching prospects break. They take a long time to develop at times. Andrew Painter gets hurt. He doesn't come back the same. Sell them all. I mean, I'm not opposed to that at all. I shoved Trey Savage 3 because who else? And he's dominating in the majors. So I put him there. I don't think he's one you sell, but do you want to sell Seth Hernandez? Sure. I'm absolutely fine with that. So, yeah, I mean, I do think proximity is important. But again, I'm not going to just shove a mediocre pitching prospect that I think is going to be an SP5 at best because I think he's close. So that's kind of where I am.
Yeah, do you really want to throw? You're not going to throw Tyler Bremner like top 25 or anything like that, right? Like I think he has a little more upside than that, but he's like the idea of like a back end starter. And yeah, just sell pitching prospects. I mean, Bubba Chandler, like you probably should have sold high at some point, like as a dynasty player. Jackson Jobe, Andrew Painter. These pitching prospects, it's just so hard. It's hard to pitch against major league hitters. And then you have all the players get hurt all the time. And they deal with random bruises and bumps and bruises and stuff. So just. I agree with the proximity aspect of it. Like Cade Anderson should be ranked highly. I don't think the upside's that high though. So like I'm like currently struggling with where do I put Cade Anderson because he's going to be in the major leagues at some point this season. But like, what's the upside? Like he's not an ace, and he's probably not a 2, but it might be 3. And there's some value in that. But do I want to rank that as a top 15 prospect? I mean, I might have to with how poor like the quality of the minor leagues is. So yeah, just sell pitching prospects high, and especially if they start making it to the major leagues or start being in like double AAA, and someone wants to give you something like people should have sold Brody Hopkins this past season because all of a sudden he's walking as much as he's striking out. It feels like so. Yeah, just I think people should be more open to selling pitching prospects.
Yeah, sell them all. That's what I would suggest you do.
Yes.
None is worth really keeping to hope that they do well when they debut. So proximity does factor, but just trade them all. Why did River Ryan fall? Honestly, like that was unintentional. Guys moved up. I didn't touch. I do my updates like all month, and I didn't touch River Ryan. Like I don't even remember when the last time I touched his rank was, and I think it was probably just like at some point in like mid-May, and that may have been why. So it may have been an oversight. I definitely didn't touch his rank. He started last night. I already finalized the rankings. He pitched well. And I don't think I touched his rank after his May 21st start, in which he pitched well. So it was just like the first couple starts were like, eh. And then you factor in like he's almost 28-year-old prospect, and he has never been healthy at any point in his career. I mean, I get it. Like he missed all last year, but we're just like the last 3 years, we just haven't seen anything of him. I think there's talent. Like, I'm not arguing that. I mean, he's like the AAA numbers right now have been stellar. I mean, 33% K to 3.4% walk. That's great. And maybe he deserves to be higher. And it's honestly probably just a accidental omission on my part for not looking at his rank more closely before I did publish. But I think I just kind of moved him down like mid-May, and just other guys jumped him, and I didn't touch him again after these last few starts. So that's just my thing. He's going to pitch in the Dodgers uniform maybe next week, but can we count on him for a full season? I don't know.
I think rotate pitchers in and out like nobody's business because they always have guys that are getting hurt, and River Ryan sort of is in that like equation of hurt pitchers. When he's healthy, he's fantastic. One of the more fun pitching prospects. And I don't blame people for ranking him highly. I know Longenhagen likes him. I know Keith Law clearly likes him, and that's no shot at those guys. But I mean, for our purposes, like is he going to be a consistent starter for the Dodgers? Like there's just and if he's a reliever, is he a fantasy viable reliever? Like there's just a lot up in the air. So River Ryan's been the talk of prospect Twitter. So I don't know. I wish that he would graduate. And yeah. I don't think his fall is like in your rankings is anything too crazy. I just know that some people have risen him up, and we have to adjust accordingly. But yeah, I like River Ryan, and I think that I really just want him to graduate at some point. I think he actually might have graduated on service time now that I look at it. He has a year of service time, so maybe he shouldn't even been ranked at all.
Yeah, there you go. He shouldn't be on my prospect list.
There we go.
That's really helpful. I'm gonna delete him like as soon as we hit end. That's hilarious that his clock is already at over a year, but here we are, and that's gonna wrap us up. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for bearing with us. There's a lot of good questions. Thank you for those. We'll do listener questions more often. I think that there is a lot of value in that. Maybe next month we'll do some early FYPD listener questions and get those in, because it'll be here before we know it. The draft is around the corner. College World Series will be here before we know it. It's a super exciting time. But thank you for tuning in. Thanks for being with me again, Reese, and hope that everybody has a great day.